Good morning, everybody. Bore da pawb a croeso cynnes. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webinar session, Gaming for Good, which is part of our Tech Fest for Digital Leaders Week here in Wales. So before I go any further, I'd just like to outline the general housekeeping for the event. Today, we'll be recording the speaker session. We're also going to be recording the breakout rooms and the Q&A session. So if you don't want to be recorded, please switch off your camera. You're also able to change your name if you click on the ellipsis in the top right-hand corner of your personal screen and click the third option, which is rename. So during the main parts of the session today, you're going to be kept on mute. So if you'd like to add anything into this discussion, please click into the chat function. This is because it just makes the session far easier for us to manage, and we've hopefully got a good size audience out there as well. So my name's Sarah Evans, and I'm the chair for the event today. I'm an independent policy and research advisor with the Wales Cooperative Centre, and I work across the other social enterprise support agencies and the main social enterprise sector here in Wales. I'm supported today by my colleague Mike Erskine and Fern Morgan from Gennaro Productions. So in mid-July, we launched our Vision and Action Plan, Transforming Wales Through Social Enterprise. And this is one of a number of events that we'll be holding to inform how we're taking our vision and strategy forward. Our Vision and Action Plan has got 9 outcomes, one of which is that social enterprise will be better able to exploit digital technology for social good. And I think if any of you have been lucky enough to join some of the sessions we've had here as part of Digital Leaders Week, you'll see that the social enterprise sector here in Wales has really embraced technology and exploited digital technology, both before the pandemic and many of you as a result of the pandemic. So the idea of today is gaming for good. We're hoping that it'll give the sector even more ideas and more tools to innovate, particularly in terms of engaging with different age groups, particularly younger age group. So in terms of the format for this morning, we have our main speaker, Nathan Roberts, and following Nathan's presentation, around 10:30, we're going to move into various breakout rooms. Those will be automatically assigned for you that are participating in the event, and those breakout rooms will last for about 30 minutes, and then you'll automatically be moved back into our main room. We will have a question and answer session, and as I said previously, if you could put any questions that you have for Nathan into the chat function. We'll then have the option to move into the Hubs platform where Nathan will be able to bring some of the ideas that we've been discussing to life and hopefully give you a little bit more food for the thought. So let me introduce our speaker. Nathan Roberts is a senior lecturer in the Faculty of Arts, Science and Technology at Wrexham Glyndŵr University. And Nathan's got significant experience in the games industry and also leads a master's programme in gaming. So I worked with Nathan for a number of years at Wrexham Glyndŵr, and when I left earlier this year, he said, "If there's ever anything I can help you with, Sarah, just ask." So I don't think you'll be making that mistake again. So here he is this morning, our main speaker for the event, Nathan Roberts. Over to you, Nathan.
Thank you for that, Sarah. So I don't know if that's a mistake I'm going to live to regret or from knowing you from that, but I'm sure I'm happy to share my knowledge with everybody today. I am really pleased to be here. So just to give you a bit of background, I'm a senior lecturer at the Glyndŵr University in Wrexham. I'm involved with computer game development, and I specialise in the areas of serious games and immersive technology. And you're most probably wondering, what are those? So I'm going to go through those first of all with you. So just to start off the presentation, to give you a little bit of background. So the type of stuff that I'm working with, so serious games is the involvement of using games development across many different types of industry, apart from, as well as entertainment. So in many cases, the type of industries that you're already involved with. So type applications I've worked with is education, health, even military, police. I'm working with the Ministry of Justice at the moment. So the application of games is very, very diverse. It's a massive industry, and it's continually growing, and it's adapting to all sorts of different things. It's involved with all sorts of technology, and that's what I'm here today to show you, to demonstrate to you, is that power of the games and how you may be able to tap into it. So the thing is that I mentioned about immersive technology. So another area that I specialize in is the types of thing with VR, augmented reality and mixed realities. And just to give you a bit of background, these about VR, virtual reality is about bringing individuals into virtual spaces. So some good news happened this week. This is a VR headset. This is the Oculus 2. So if you're involved with VR, quite a few people have been excited this week because that was released. That's brand new this week. A number of companies are adopting these bits of technology because they're getting more affordable. They're becoming very accessible, and there's lots of different things that we can do with these. Again, I'm going to demonstrate some examples. In the middle, if we look at this diagram on the chart, so the virtual reality is the one on the left. In the middle, we've got mixed realities, where we bring the combination of physical spaces along with virtual. So this is a projection dome that we're looking at there. And then the final one, augmented reality, is that we can project virtual models and different things within the physical space. So in this example here, the car is completely fake, and it's basically being projected onto a tag. So we've been able to create for some kids' toys and different things, completely virtual, where we've had remote control cars running around on your actual desk, but it's completely virtual, completely fake. So there's all sorts of different applications that we can make for this. The nice thing with virtual reality, there's different types of exposures. So we're working with different industries in social care, with specialized training, where we're bringing people together. In fact, we're working on an industry at the moment in manufacturing, where we're bringing people across the world to bring training together. So there's machines that we're working with that are millions of pounds worth, and we're able to bring everybody into one particular space. And as Sarah was saying, we're going to introduce you to a type of collaborative environment today called hubs, which is something that you can take away and you can play with straight away out of the box. So I'm hoping that you'll look forward to that as well. So moving along, so just to give you an example of the type of stuff that we look at. So this system that you see that's playing at the moment is called a cave system. So these are spaces, and these are quite easy to create. So we can get a series of projectors, we can place them into environments. The type of show that we've used with this technology is to help children learn to read. So what we've done is we've used sensors in books, so we can actually open up the book, and the child, what it does, it feeds back to the game engine, and basically we can bring that book to life. So as you can see in the environment there, imagine if the child is in there reading this book, you turn to a page and that environment around them comes to life. So this is all done through like a game engine. But to add to this as well, additional technology that we can bring in, which is the areas that I specialize in, is that we look at sensory rich environments. So as well as both the visual and the audio, we can bring tactile exposure to people. So we can bring in wind and all sorts of different things. We can get suits on people that you can actually feel the senses of these games and interact with them. You can touch with them. And olfactory as well as being, so the power of smell, injecting smells into these environments. And this enhances something called presence. So what we've found is that when you bring these in, it becomes a much, much more engaging experience, all powered through games development. So one of the interesting things that I work with as well is all these type of flexible environments. So what this is on the screen is called a dome. So it's a full dome. It's essentially a blow-up igloo. That's the easiest way to look at it. You can use these with a simple projection, and we create what's a spherical projection in the environment, and it's like a 4D cinema. So it's a really nice environment. And we've used these type of applications as education for mathematics, for example. So there's a game that I'm very familiar because I've got a few years ahead of my students. So sometimes I'm feeling really old now when I'm talking about games, they don't know what they are. But there's a game called Tanks many years ago, which is basically two tanks and they take pot shots at each other. That was developed, you might be familiar with it, called Worms. So Team 17 took the idea and took it further into a game called Worms. And essentially what we've got in this environment, to elaborate how we've been able to adapt that, is that if you imagine this dome, you go walk into it, you can look around and you can see the environment, any environment projected all the way around you. Well, we've got two of these domes, and what we did is create a network environment. So when you're in this environment looking around, you're in a tank, another person is in the other dome and a different location, they're also in a tank, and we were taking we made a little game to make pot shots at each other. The nice thing is we do all this stuff just for fun, but it's the practical application. And sometimes companies and stuff will come to us and say, that's an amazing idea. Can it be adapted for this? In this case, the primary education came to us and said, I love this idea. It's so fun. People's engaging with it. But can we bring mathematics into it? Because the idea of this game is that you had to arrange the angle and the power of the projectile. And we didn't realize, but it's purely mathematics in a way. So we were able to adapt this game to teach about mathematics as well. And that was really successful. So this is part of the event that we're going to be looking at today. We want a hands-on experience, but I'm going to go through some examples and applications of type of things I've been doing with industry. And we're going to encourage you to engage, come up with questions and stuff and ask us of how you think games could work for you. So we're going to work very, very closely with you. I've got a number of students here today, some of my master students that are also heavily involved in games. And as I'm going through the presentation, I encourage you to think about technology and think, how could this be used in your type of area of work? Could it be useful? Is there a particular problem that you've got and you feel one of these approaches could be adapted to it? Because I get the nickname when I go. So, for instance, with an NHS health example, they give me the nickname Black Magic. Because they just consider it magic, right? We just do this for fun. It's easy in some cases to develop this stuff, but we have no idea how to apply it. We just want to have great fun out of it. And if it's great fun and we can adapt it into businesses, organizations, then it's an extra bonus. So we're reliant on people like yourselves to sort of give us that introduction to it. So to just give you some more insight, the future of technology, I'm going to give you some insights into the future 10 years of how it's shaping. So I've talked about these immersive environments. Now, this is research that's happening at MIT, and this is really cool. We're talking about, when we think about games development, we always think about some nerd up in a bedroom program in a way. And fair enough, many, many years ago, it may have been like that, but it's gone massive now. They're big organizations that are producing games, big companies. It's not just a screen on a TV screen playing a computer game there. It's much, much more diverse. We've got these interactive environments. We've got really, really interesting ways of engaging with this technology. And this is what MIT are currently looking at. This is a fantastic piece of technology that we feel will be around in 10 years or so. Now, these are flexible spaces. So if you imagine a dome, you're going into there with a child reading a book, and we talked about the environment changing. Imagine if that environment actually physically shaped itself around that individual. And that's what this is. So this is called telepresence. And this allows people from anywhere in the world to take control over a space and shape it and mold it. So this is the type of stuff that we're currently looking at within games environments. An example that we're currently researching into as well, just to show you about changing environments. The simplest game I can most probably explain is something called Pong, one of the oldest games, with two sort of tennis game where you move two bats up and down and you bounce the ball to each other. There's examples of where that's been adapted using this type of technology to encourage exercise. So for rock climbing, where they've been able to create a wall, project the game of Pong onto the wall, and the wall has changed shape, and the physical person has to navigate that wall and becomes the a physical bat to knock the ball back in two. So you can have two players competing against each other, moving up and down the wall, and the wall changes shape, and they're playing this game as well, but it encourages exercise. So there's all these fantastic types of approaches that we can look at. So as well as that, we're looking at complementary technology that you may already have in your companies as well. So the stuff that I develop, I work with electronics, so Arduino development. These are really, really fun bits of kits. Now, I always remember when I was younger, the Tandy shops in the town centre, and always being fascinated by the electrical starter kits that were in the shop window. Obviously, Tandy's gone now, that shop, if you remember that, but Arduino is that sort of thing. It's these little fun kits that you can get away with from all ages, from young to old, that can get involved, and it allows you to create all these type of magical interfaces with games. So we tend to use these in a lot of our development for different types of feedback, for new types of controllers. We've been even working with people with disabilities. That's a key thing, where we've been able to bring them involved so they feel part of the gaming community, because in some cases they're excluded because they can't get to grips with some of the games and stuff like that because of controllers and things. We've even created custom controllers for games and ways of interacting, very unique ways of interacting, and it's all been able to achievable through Arduino development. So omnidirectional treadmills, which I'm going to come to later for a zombie game that we've been developing, these allow you to move in physical space because many of us are limited in these spaces, so we have to navigate them. So omnidirectional treadmills allow us to navigate 3D spaces, travel all over places. Think of Street View, but you're able to navigate it in by walking on the same spot. So we're able to create all these fantastic immersive environments, and we're able to create them quite realistic as well. So these types of technologies allow us to navigate and provide an extra way of engaging with them, as well as the Razer Hydra. So this is quite an old technology, but the easiest way to look at this is like Wii nunchucks. So it allows you to physically grab and stuff. Now we've advanced this into sort of gesture gloves that we can put gloves on, and we're working currently with industry to have physical tactile environments. So for instance, the key thing for training in an environment, we're using games and simulation to train people how to use certain machinery. But if you've got gloves, you can create them so you get tactile feedback and you can get hold of the machines and see and get that actual touch feedback. So that's really good. Virtual reality we've done loads with, so I'm going to go through examples of that just to show you straight away. So some interesting things. I'm going to bring the psychology into this as well. So I'm a big fan of roller coasters. Absolutely amazing. So I don't know if you go onto YouTube. There's a YouTube that's called a channel called React, where they get different people to react to different things. So this is actually elders reacting to VR. So I'd recommend having a look at this. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but if we can skip forward a little bit, please, guys, in the presentation to the roller coaster side. So if you can just skip to the middle, if that's okay. That's it. So this was an example of how powerful this is and how powerful VR. So if you haven't tried it, I recommend it. So this is essentially how VR works. It's a stereoscopic screen. So you're basically, it's one screen, it's one visor, but it's split in two. So each eye sees a separate part of the screen, which is a separate viewpoint. So the eyes, the technical side for it, the eyes are situated 6 centimeters, approximately 6 centimeters apart, and the screens replicate that. So one screen is replicating the left eye, one screen is replicating the right side. The really nice thing with this is that even though the environment can be cartoony, it can look artificial, your brain is actually calculating depth perception within it. And you can get people to have triggered responses by using all these different techniques and all additional technologies, smells and stuff like that. So we've done testing on this to see how powerful games are and how these can get people to react. And we've done it across all age groups with all different people. And we got some really, really nice results. Now in that game, the type of thing was the roller coaster is a bit like Oblivion in Alton Towers, where there's a massive vertical drop. So what we did a test. This test only shows for 15 people, but we actually did the test with 150 in the end to check that the results were correct. And what we found is that when people were in this immersed environment, they were automatically reacting. Their heart rate was increasing. They had that presence. They felt as if they were there. So they were saying, right, I'm not really there because it looks a bit fake, but their brain was saying, I can calculate the depth. I can see the depth. I'm there. So it was getting them this heart rate to elevate, this excitement as well. But the thing was, we found different things. When the vertical drop came up, we were expecting a peak in heart rate, but we didn't get that. And that was because the experience they had, they weren't falling forwards. They didn't have that impression, that force of falling forwards. The only way we could get it was to push them over. But we just to reassure you, we didn't do that. So how would we replicate that? So again, going back to these bits of technology, what we did in this is that we looked, so if I just skip forward in the presentation, so what we did on the climb before the drop, we implemented fans. So a lot of fans around them. And when the drop happened, the Arduino kits that I mentioned to it would communicate with the game engine, switch them on and blast them with air. So they were replicating the environment. And we saw these dramatic shifts in changing heart rate. So that shows the power of using additional equipment to complement gaming as well. Now, to test this even further, we did the same sort of result without the fans with smells. And we got exactly the same type of pattern. So it's quite interesting. So that's what we're working towards. So the type of research that I'm working with in Serious Games is bringing these immersive environments with all this different technology to make it like influential to the individual and to increase that that experience. So some examples. So I'm just going to go through a few examples to get your minds thinking about how these applications work with games. So I've been working with a charity at the time, which was called TechniQuest. It's now called Exploring Wrexham. And they know that I do all this type of virtual experience stuff. And they came to me asking, could you put an experience on for us? Because they put a show on for children, for young children, and they wanted them to be engaged and different things. But they said, can you sort of bring it to life in some way? So they asked for a very realistic horror scene. Like, so it might have been a mistake saying that to me, to be honest, seeing as I deal with realism. So when we set the scene up, we took it to them saying, right, we've made like this mock scene for you. And they said, right, like, great, it looks realistic, but we wanted to sort of scare them, not kill them of fright, right? So we had to go back to the drawing board, right? So we came up with this. So we came up with this environment. This is actually in that dome environment that I showed you at the very beginning of the slides. Now, what this is, the the actor, which you can see in one of the pictures, the lady that's sitting in the standing behind the children, the parents, she put on a show and they would tell the ghost stories. And what I did is create an environment that is projected around them. Now, this was purely done through game engines, so through game technology. And what it was an artificial scene, but it was linked into the story. And what we were able to do is that the whole environment came to life. So we had somebody in there with a games controller. And what we did is that at certain points of the story, it would say like the wolf ran up the mountain, howled at the moon. We would click the controller and it would actually happen in the scene. So the wolf would run up. And then when the actress was walking around, because she was playing the role of a vampire, we were able to, she was saying about them, the spooky woods, with the gloomy eyes. And we actually, using the analog stick-on controllers, were able to control all aspects of that, all through game technology. And so it was able to look at the actress as she was going across, and the whole environment came to life. Now, I measured the success of this by how many children I could get to cry. And I can tell you it was quite popular, right? So that was a good thing. But I can assure you the kids absolutely loved it. They were begging their parents after to go back into the environment. So we had full marks for it. Everybody had thoroughly enjoyable time. And we've had more business and different things and more opportunities to develop this further with it. So just to give you an example, the next year, several companies came to us, and we did it for fun. As I said, this is just for fun. I'm not a cruel person. Actually, it's the thing, we do good stuff, but the horror thing was just an area. But again, the next year around, they came to us saying, could we do something else? So we wanted to do something a little bit different. And we're working with different companies again with this one. So we came up with a game called Pacemaker. And what this was is a simple cat and mouse style game. This was a game where you could play in VR, a VR headset, so you're completely immersed in it. It's a horror game again, because it's around the Halloween theme. But this was simple cat and mouse game, means you're either running away from something or you're chasing something. So it's a simple mechanic. And what we did is build a subway, an abandoned subway in VR, right? And the idea was that they had to stay alive. There was a zombie in there chasing after them, and they had to stay alive as long as possible. Now, the interesting thing with this is that was the zombie we used, but we changed the model to open its chest. The interesting thing was, inside, you could see its heart. I know it sounds gruesome, but there was a reason for that. The individual would wear a heart rate monitor, so either clipped onto their ear or on the end of their finger. And what that was doing was feeding the information back into the game. So their heart rate was being fed into the game, and we actually fed that information into the zombie. So the heart rate of the zombie was reflecting the heart rate of the individual playing the game. So the more scared they got, the faster their heart would pump. Therefore, the faster the zombie's heart would beat as well. And the thing is, we built this into a difficulty mechanic. So the more scared the individual got in the environment, the faster the zombie's heart and the more powerful he became. So the idea was of the game, it's not just a mechanic to stay alive as long as possible, was to keep calm, because if you got scared, it made the zombie harder and he could get faster and he start running after you. Now, again, that was just the mechanic that we looked at for using for fun. But the NHS actually attended an event where we were showcasing it and actually picked up, they said, this is amazing, because they could adapt it. They had people with social anxiety. And the thing is, you've got to remember, these type of environments are controlled. We can do everything with them. We can stop them. We can slow them down. And they thought it was a really, really great way of people with social anxiety to bring them into an environment and providing coaching to them to say, now take deep breaths, control your breathing. And it worked really, really well, because we're using it as a mechanism for controlling that environment and varying the different degrees of the social anxiety. So it worked. Something that we developed for fun was actually had really, really good results from it. So other applications of this technology as well. So what we're seeing here, very, very diverse range, is I made mention about smells. Smells can easily be this is one of my grandmother's air fresheners, which I sort of hijacked, so tuck over, hot wired, let's say. So we were able to control it through the game engine. And what we were able to do there is that I created some relaxing environments, like at the time, I had some friends and different people that were getting really stressed. So we were creating sort of relaxed environments that they could go into for chill out zones. So again, using projection technology around an all-in-games environment. So this could either be in VR, it could be in a physical space, we could project. But the idea was that they could navigate around that room and the system could detect where they were and it would pump smells in to different things. Again, this was adapted for training in other areas. So for health scenarios, that took that opportunity, and also military, different aspects, police forces and stuff, because we change our decision-making processes on implementing different type of responses. So if we smell something that's strange, if we smell burning or something like that, we react differently. We've been using it here recently in health and training for detecting smoke and different things. So it's quite versatile and adaptive. So going down as well. So these are just some of the lists. So like Epoch is a head sensor, which I'll explain about that. But the interesting one there is the type of projections that we can do with games as well. On the bottom screen there, that is actually my house. That is just a standard plastered wall, white wall. And that is actually a mirror. So what I did, I put some plain paper on the mirror to create like a projection screen. And what I've been able to do there is create a 3D projection using, again, a game engine. So all it is, that is completely flat. That projection is completely flat with a cityscape inside. But what we've been using here is the Kinect camera. So that's an interactive gaming piece of hardware that can detect your position and your body movements, different things. And that's actually on the ground, and that can evaluate people passing the image. So there's a projector up above that's projecting down onto the wall. So it's lying it flat. And then there's the Kinect sensor that's on the bottom, checking your movement. And what's quite unique about this is that it's completely two-dimensional. It's completely flat, but we can give the experience as if it's actually real and it's there and it's got depth. So what happens on this is that when you walk past, the computer game automatically changes the perspective of the window. So it looks as if you're looking through it and you can see everything coming to life. Now that's really, really good for people again, we've been using this for different chill-out spaces. We've been using it for training, for closed spaces, we've been using it for flight training and all sorts of different techniques. So these are things that we've just been experimenting with. We've got all this knowledge. We don't know how to apply it. It's people coming to us and saying, oh, can you do this type of thing? So it's been great fun. So this one's an interesting one as well. So I did a talk quite a few years ago now at Oxford University, where they had people, again, with anxiety. There was disabilities, so children with various different disabilities. Autism especially was one of the things they wanted to focus on. And we wanted to create interactive and fun environments for games. So we were able to create a fireworks show in one of those domes, and again using the VR kit, because that's where I specialize in. So we were able to set up buttons that children could go into and just hit these buttons, and then these live fireworks shows would go on for the individual. And it was linked to music and sound, and so these audio visual rooms. But we advanced it further to create an aquarium. Now, this was one of the things I was worried about, is that the children are really interactive. They're great, but they love to touch the technology, and this technology is really expensive. And what we were able to do is to adapt basically a pressure mat system for the floor. And all this was small sheets of MDF with some tinfoil. So we were able to detect where they were walking and standing. And what I was able to do is to create an aquarium, an interactive aquarium, where the kids could go in and play with the fish. So what happened was that the kids would always go up to the screen and start banging it. So I programmed the environment that it could detect where the children were positioned, and the fish would swim off. Now, if you've got children, they're rowdy and they're running around, this environment was fantastic because they would never catch the fish. So all we had was children running around trying to catch a fish, and the system could detect where they were, and it was sending them off in a different direction and swimming around. I did make a little mistake, and I'll hold my hands up to this. Unfortunately, when I programmed it for Oxford University, they're supposed to swim around the dome. I programmed it to swim away and forgot about it. So when we first started it, this fish swam away, but then never came back. So we ended up with an empty aquarium. So I quickly had to rectify that. So another stuff as well. So like post-traumatic stress, that technology is told about the diversity of the technology, this adaptability of it. That's actually, the pressure mat system was actually used for some military health training as well that we were looking at. So that same system that was used for children has an application within military, where we were doing medical training for that was using robots and different things, where we created environments, stressful environments where there could have been injuries or the people have been under fire, where medics have to assist individuals with critical care. So we were able to use these sort of systems to detect. So in this case, so if it's an IED, explosive devices and stuff like that, they had to navigate the environments and stuff. So it has this really, really serious application to it as well. So the technology is very, very adaptable. Now, this was one of my fun ones. This was was one of a chill out run. I always get picked on for this. So the image that you're seeing here is an EPOC device, which is an ECG device. So it measures brainwave activity. Now, I don't understand this, and we were working with psychologists to understand the brainwave patterns. But what I created, so if I just skip through the slides, that environment in the background that you see, that is actually what I developed. That was based in a game engine called Unity. So that's something that we've actually produced. Now, these ECG devices, you need to fit on the head and they'll measure your brainwave activity. Now, what you're seeing here is my brainwave activity. I am quite surprised it's not flatlining, I've got to be honest, but that is my brainwave activity that's being picked up there. I always get picked on for these things because usually people that are bald usually give the best results. So hence why I'm usually the culprit for taking part in these trials. But what we were able to do is we were able to take this information, work with psychologists as well, to identify different mood states. So in the environment, I created a weather system that changed based on your emotional stance. So if you were sad and depressed, it would get cloudy in the environment and start to rain. And if you thought happy thoughts, we were able to enlighten there, and it was going sunny and rainbows. The other thing is working with different people in the industry, they found this as we could reverse that process around to sort of encourage different mood states. So if somebody was having depression for well-being, different things, the system was able to analyze those individuals and provide environments that stimulated them, that changed their sort of emotional state or encouraged that change. So that was another useful thing that went forwards that went really, really well. The other thing that I am is a qualified drone pilot as well. And one of the futures, and you're going to see a massive piece of evolution in the game development next year. We use an engine called we use something called Photogrammetry, which you're going to see big in game development next year, which allows us to actually use photographs and capture environments. These are usually, we can do that now, but the processing involved with it is really time consuming, and a lot of game engines struggle to run these type of environments. But new technology coming out next year is going to streamline that, and you're going to see games becoming very, very realistic. Now, we can take drones, we've used drone flights in the past, to fly around and capture these environments and create very realistic simulations. So we've been working with the tourist industry for this type of stuff, recreating live environments. Now, this is excellent for COVID at the current situation where people can't visit sites. We can go there with permission, take the drone, and we can recreate these sites. Even the nice thing is for those with disabilities as well that can't visit certain locations, just to make sure that they have the opportunity to go and see what's there. Using game technology, we can redesign them, rebuild them, and provide it within a virtual platform or even through a TV screen. So that's really nice as well. So that's photogrammetry that's coming up. So I'm just conscious of time, so I'm just going to move a little bit forward. So this, just to bring it up to an end, there is a lot more of things that I can discuss, but what's key today is that I want you to go out, speak to my master students that are here today. We're going to put you into breakout rooms, and they're passionate about technology like myself. They've got lots of different experience with different technologies. They've been researching it quite in depth this week as well, so to see the future trends for technology. And I'd like you to take the opportunity to speak with them and discuss and get ideas of how gaming technology can change the way you work or the benefits it can bring into your organizations as well. So I'll be on hand as well. But after the breakout sessions, what we're going to do is I'm going to introduce you to something called hubs. Now, this is a piece of technology you can take away, and it's a collaborative learning space. One of the biggest problems we've had at the moment, obviously because of COVID, is that platforms like this are fantastic. So they engage through the screen. It allows us to socialize, but it's not like that personal one-to-one experience. So although you can't get better than the real thing, Hubs allows you to go into virtual spaces quite easily. So you can bring people in, engage. And I've been using it with industry over this last summer, and I'm hoping to demonstrate that with you later. And that's something that you can take away and take back into your organization to get the opportunity to play with later on. So just to finish off as well, so this animation here, what we've got is same with the health industry. So if we could just play that animation, I'll talk about it. I was talking about 3D projection. So this is the one I was talking about with the military one. We have the type of flexibility to show you the diverse application of games. What I do when I work with organizations, I give them key updates. And this is the robot, what you see on the floor. It's called Metiman. The thing is, it's a complete computer, basically. So it lives, breathes, type things. It pees itself. It does everything like a human. might not want to do, but might happen. But so it's a medical training bot, it is, and we've been using this. We use this with in the health industry and for military aspects to provide training. The only problem was it didn't really look pretty, so it wasn't like a human face. So this process that you're seeing here is where we created a mold for it, and we created a projection mold. So again, this was done through a game engine where we were able to create different responses. And we've been using this technique for social engagements as well with individuals and training across different aspects, where we can program, we can program the individual through the use of actors and different things, and project it onto the environment. And this basically complements the gaming environment. So we put it in. So this is where I refer to mixed environments, where we use gaming technology along with real world technology, physical technology. So that was a projection mask that was there. And then it will come up. So this was programmed to an iPad where the person was in the immersive technology environment. We could give it different responses. So they had that physical interaction with the device as well. So, and the speakers, you can see with the voice. So this was just the first trial. There's all these different types of quite unique engagement with that. So I hope that's given you, that's only a small sample. I'm happy to discuss other projects. You'll see this tag at the back of me. That's for Flincher, that's augmented reality. That's a Flincher project that we're working on at the moment for Talacra. So Talacra Beach is going to have hopefully some of these tags around, which is a treasure hunt for young families to go around for the kids, that the little cartoon characters will pop up and chat to you on the beach and different things. So a bit like the Gruffalo Trail, if you've seen that. So there's a number of different things that we discuss, that we're working with. I'm happy to speak to you guys, but for the moment, I think it's now time to enter the breakout rooms.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, as Nathan said, that was amazing. Nathan, thank you very much for that. I'm sure we're all got lots of ideas that we're thinking about now. So we said if you do have any questions for Nathan, please put them into the chat function. We are going to move to the breakout rooms in a couple of minutes. You'll be automatically assigned to your breakout room. Each room has got a moderator, and we'll have one or two of Nathan's students. We're going to allow 20 minutes for that breakout session. And I think that will give you enough time just to introduce everybody within that breakout room. We should have about 7 or 8, I think, per breakout room. So can I just remind the moderators and the students that you need to record that session, please? And we're going to have my colleagues Gemma, Rodri and Ben from Wales Cooperative Centre. Mike and myself are going to be moderating, and we also have Sophie and Henry from Glyndŵr that are going to be moderating. Nathan's going to be floating around the different rooms. Right, so let's move out to the breakout rooms and lots of discussion, and we'll see you back in this room at 11 o'clock. Thank you. Right, welcome back, everybody. I'm sure those breakout sessions, so many different ideas going on. If anybody's got a question for Nathan, could you please put it into the chat function, and we can ask that. So if I can maybe start, Nathan, one of the points that was raised in the room that I was in was about access to this kind of technology and the associated costs. I just wonder, is there anything you can maybe say about that if people want to get access to some of these appliances?
Yeah, sure. Funny enough, it was in some of the conversations. Now, firstly, I do apologise, guys. When I was jumping in, I was just checking on my students. There were some wonderful questions that were being asked, and I was sort of fighting back to give to not give an answer. Going back to that question about expensive, I heard some people saying that this equipment is very expensive. It's actually wide and varied. You can buy stuff, you can get stuff for free. So we're going to actually give you a free solution coming up, which is called Hubs, which is a really, really nice one for social engagement and various different platforms. This type of stuff in the past, so this is the new Oculus 2 kit. This costs around £300. Considering this technology used to cost close to £1,000, it is dropping in price quite rapidly. Facebook are the owners of this type of equipment at the moment for this particular brand. There's other good names out there, but Facebook are aware that it's quite expensive, and they are trying to drive that force down. The other thing is there is free software that's around there. So if you're looking into development, one of the things is that we use software like Maya, which can be expensive, so it's used in the industry. But there's comparisons which are just as good. In fact, we've been having a debate with the students lately whether to leave the software that we're using for something called Blender, which is actually free. It's free available. It's a game engine, it's a development kit, it's everything included, and it's absolutely amazing. So there is, as I said, the answer to that is wide and varied. It depends on your needs. There are solutions out there. There are free solutions, there are cheap alternatives, and there's the expensive ones, like the hub space. They're not the hub, sorry, the dome. They cost around, that is the cheap version of the dome. And you're talking around about £15,000, right? £13,000 to £15,000 for just that. That's including all the computer equipment and different things as well. Again, it's horses for courses. It depends on what your needs are, but there is a solution for everything, I can show you. And I'm happy to share, if you prefer having a list of key pieces of software, key pieces of equipment that you can get, I'm happy to put that together for you and share it with everybody.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much, Nathan. As I said, Mike, are there any questions coming through that from our audience?
Well, we had some questions which were coming through from the breakouts, but I think a lot of them were covered in my one.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, one of the questions that was up on the chat before, I think, Nathan, came from Lindsay. She wanted to know how she could get involved in some of this games testing, because especially the roller coaster one, I want in on that myself.
You'll be more than welcome. We are looking for volunteers at different times as well. So obviously, because we're in the locality of Wrexham, we tend to deal with the council boroughs around, so Flintshire, Denbighshire, Wrexham area, so businesses and different organisations there. We can easily expand upon that as well. So if there are people who are interested, I don't know how we could arrange it through you guys that are arranging this whole session, but if you want to exchange email addresses, stuff like that, we can keep you on a mailing list. We can give you links to Twitter feeds and different things. So yeah, we welcome everybody, because what we want to do, our main goal is to help individuals and organizations out there and people. So the more the merrier. That's all I'm going to say to that one.
I can't believe I worked down the corridor from him for 7 years and he never offered me that opportunity. So I think there were lots of ideas coming through. I mean, Mike, do you want to say a few ideas that were coming through in your room?
Yeah, I mean, there was a couple of conversations around how we can tackle some areas like climate change, and and also Alex and Kieran were part of my one. We're talking about really bringing sort of history to life, really, and a lot, especially during this pandemic, a lot of the cultural and heritage sites that we have, and in particular in North Wales, how we can use those those immersive environments to really take people to places where either aren't accessible because of the current times, or they may not be in terms of student visits. For example, say they want to go to an Antarctica or something like that, you could take them there. You could take them to the moon. There's those environments that you can create to really inspire people, and also to depending on what you're looking to do, is to open up new worlds to people. And I think I know one of the participants in our session, Andrew, was talking about how he's looking to engage with his local community in quite a remote rural area, and he was really interested with some of the ideas the students were coming up with. So it was great. It was a really good session, and I think the key is how accessible this stuff is. And I think what kept coming back was that sort of co-creation, because I think people want to test out things and see how it works themselves, but I think they know the skills and the of the students that we've seen here today are out there. It's about how they can reach out to them and co-create stuff together, really.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think that the history idea and definitely the tourism ideas are definitely coming through in our group, and about the storytelling. And just for our audience, earlier in the week, one of the sessions that we had was about arts and culture social enterprises, and one of them was a storytelling festival, and just how they could have really, I think, benefited from some of the ideas Nathan was talking about that you'd worked with when you with TechniQuest. Is there anything else, Nathan, you'd like to add before maybe we move on to hubs around maybe what students are going to do now, or anything else that we've brought up here?
Yeah, it was fantastic. And just to hear those responses about the environment. And environment is one of the things we're actually looking at the moment. It's something that we haven't really done that much with games development from my side, from the immersive tech. And it's something that's actually currently on the top of my list of new avenues to investigate. So I'm particularly interested in that. As for the history, we are doing loads of different things involved with that. So if you want to collaborate, I'm more than happy, and I'm happy to have a separate discussion. But to give you some examples, we're working with Bersham in Wrexham, where we're recreating the site using augmented reality, 360 videos, using game engines to rebuild it. So when people go there, they can they go to certain locations and see the environment, how it's changed over a period of year, and see it running different things. We've also there's a lot of COVID projects that are on at the moment. So we're working with Mould Council to sort of bring, we were looking at the Christmas side, where we've got social distancing, where we wanted to have like a Christmas carol. So the old fashioned type of carol singers in the streets and stuff, which can't happen. So there's restrictions. So we were looking at gaming technology, and particularly augmented reality, where we can work with artists and different people, actors, and set all these scenes up, but do it remotely, first of all. So against green screen stuff, use a game engine to incorporate it. So we can bring everything together in an environment and then superimpose it at different locations through the town centre. So as powerful as that. So when you're there, you get that Christmassy feel, you get that environment where there's lots of people all crowded, but it's all social. It's being generated in advance, and it's being projected into the environment. So we're looking at even solutions like that. So yeah, I'm happy to discuss all those ideas, and I'm happy to collaborate with people as well, because that's, as a university and the type of area of background that I'm in, that's what we're there for, is to collaborate with industries and everybody. But yeah, no, it was really good.
Okay, before we go, actually, I think Mike's got another couple of questions. If you'd.
Yeah, I think some people are really interested in how they can get involved in the testing side of things, like actually becoming, helping be those what we call those lab rats, really, to test them. So when these things are being tested, is there a community where they can get in touch?
Well, usually the test, I'm happy to get as many people involved as possible. I've said this in the past. So usually the organizations, like there was some really fascinating ones I was coming across. Just an example, somebody was saying about the healthcare, the touch, that they wanted to have the physical touch. And that's what some of the areas that I'm in. There's actually work that's going on around that. And there's dementia and all these different things. It would be nice from this to set up some form of network that we could bring you all together in and share, and the opportunity to test this technology, but tell you a platform that we could share what's out there that's going on in, like, they're involved with the games development. So I'll have to investigate that. But if at this moment in time, I haven't got a method I could help develop something in the future, but I haven't got a method to collect that information, because it's all usually provided for me. So through the parties that I work with. But yeah, I'm happy to investigate that. So if you've got, Sarah and Mike, have you got any way to collect the email addresses through this? Do you have a participant list or that goes on?
Yeah, I think we will have the participant list, and I think we'll maybe contact people if they want to keep involved. I think that might help your students, Nathan, as well, further down the line, if they've got any further questions that they want to ask. If people are interested, I think it's great. As I said, it fits perfectly with our vision and strategy for social enterprise, of how they can embrace these ideas of working with different people. So I think I'm going to have to bring this part of the session to the end, so we get enough time to have a look at hubs. So thank you very much to Nathan. What an amazing talk. Thank you to all your students. You did really great. I know you were really worried about it, but it was amazing. Thanks to all of you as audience for listening. And I really hope, as Nathan said, we can take this session further and maybe actually look at different workshops in the future. Thanks to my colleagues, Gemma, Rodri, Ben, Mike, of course, and to Sophie and Henry for helping out as well, and to all the staff at Gennaro providing the tech. So please click on the link to hubs, please close down Zoom, and then we will see you all there again in a few minutes. Thank you very much. Diolch yn fawr. Bye bye.
Bye.